If I said the phrase, "I have a dream," there'd be lots of you who'd know what I was talking about. It's one of the most famous speeches in history and was made by Martin Luther King 50 years ago. So who was this man and why did his speech change a nation?
I have a dream
that my 4 little children
will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the
colour of their skin,
but by the content of their character.
Martin Luther King grew up in a time when racism in the US, like many countries, was a part of everyday life. Many US states had laws of segregation, which meant people with black skin were kept apart from white. They weren't allowed to go to the same schools, eat in the same restaurants, or even sit in the front section of buses. There were always people who wanted better, and in the 1950s they started to be heard. There were many protests, most of them peaceful, and there were leaders, like Rosa Parks, who was arrested for refusing to give up her bus seat to white passengers. And Martin Luther King. He believed in using non-violent methods to fight racial inequality. In 1963, he led protests in Birmingham, Alabama. Police used water cannons and dogs on the protesters and arrested thousands, including Martin Luther King. It shocked many, and support for King and his cause grew. Later that year, he spoke to crowds of up to 300,000 in the country's capital, asking his country to end racism. It struck a chord with many, not just in the United States, but in other countries where people were judged by the colour of their skin. In Australia, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people were denied many basic rights. Inspired by civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King, Aboriginal activists like Charlie Perkins led protests which helped to change attitudes and the Constitution. Laws in the United States also changed. Segregation ended, and in 1964, Martin Luther King was given the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in the civil rights movement. Sadly, he didn't live to see his dream fully realised. In 1968, he was shot and killed while getting ready to make a speech. But his message lived on. Racial barriers continued to fall down, and people with different coloured skin achieved many amazing things. And while things aren't perfect, Martin Luther King's children do live in a country where racial discrimination is against the law.